Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I can't really say I hope you're doing good because I know a lot or most of us are not. As you can see by the title, this video is not a vlog, but probably my most requested video after the apartment tour, which I did almost 2 years ago. This is how I edit my phone pictures, and I actually wanted to do this video later on in the year, but due to current circumstances, I'm doing it right now to try and use my reach and following in order to help people, because all of the AdSense money that we will make with this video will be donated. So watch the ads, watch it a second time. The highly requested VANELLIMELLI video and a little intro. 99% of what you see in my feed, this is shot on film. Like, I only make exceptions when there's literally no time, which doesn't happen very often. It's what I like doing, but of course it is kind of really expensive and also time consuming. So I also come back to using my phone for Instagram stories and also some videos, and I've been trying to imitate an analog feel to digital images since 2016, I think. And that's why I want to establish a little timeline here. I will be covering 3 different apps that I've used over the past 6 years. It's been a long time. But I also want to say that I feel like you never will be able to do 100% copy of film photography with using apps. It's just not how that works, but that's fine. This video is just about how I edit my Instagram stories. So let's jump into it. Am I recording? Yes. Let's start in 2016 and the app I first used to kind of do what I'm doing. And it was a pro package that VSCOCAM released, and I purchased it. It's $19 or $20 a year, so it comes with a cost. It includes different filters that imitate film emulsions, and while I think that they're not very accurate, it's still pretty good to work with them. So let's open up VSCOCAM, and we have some favorite images here, and I will probably choose a hallway outfit picture to show you what I'm usually doing with VSCO. I've also used this app to edit images from the Leica we shot back with in the day when I couldn't finance going full on film. Here you have me in a racing jacket in my hallway. And if we go into edit, you'll see that all of the first ones, the presets they call them now, I have are film emulsions. If you look and put on them, this is an Agfa Ultra 50 ISO. All of these until I think the one starts that imitate film emulsions. And what I usually go for is the FS4, which is this one, which is supposed to imitate a Fuji Superior 400. And it comes pretty close. I feel like in the Fuji Superior 400 is actually more reddish tones than it is in this one, but it comes close. So using the Fuji Superior 400, I usually drag the intensity down to something between 4 and 8. Let's go with this. And this filter really blurs out and like pushes up the exposure, in my opinion. Like, you can see there's not a lot of color left in my face. It really accentuates the highlights. So what I like doing, and you will see me come back to this later, is go into the exposure and drag that down to give back a little bit more color and depth to the image. So I usually drag the exposure down at least to 3, obviously depending on the image. This is just a recipe. Every image is different. And then what I also like doing in any app I use is go into the white balance and warm up my picture, because I like yellow a lot. A little bit of red. So as you can see, this is the before and after. We have a lot of yellowish, we have some green, in the shadows, go into the grain. I usually put that to a max of, I would say 4 probably. No, less, like 2.5 is, 2.8 is probably my standard. You can see there's a little bit of distortion, but you can still see lines. Sometimes I also like to go into split tone, which focuses on the shadows or highlights, and put a little bit more green, just very subtle in there. It's almost too much, and I feel like we can go back into the exposure. As you can see, it's like I do this, like I obviously have kind of a preset, but you have to adjust it for every single picture. And I think we can go back into the filter and actually go down a little bit because we just want that little hint. Depending on the picture as well, I like to go into contrast and pulling this up a bit to just have more depth. And yeah, this is what I usually do in VSCOCAM and what I did way back in the day. I don't use this app as often anymore. I like another filter on here, which is the KP1, which is supposed to imitate a Kodak Portra 160. If you compare, like if I would have shot this image in the hallway on film, I don't think it would look anywhere near the same, but this is how I did it. Moving on, the next app we're going to talk about, I think a lot of you might be familiar with, is NASCAM. Just when COVID started, or like a couple months before I started using this app. And as you can see by the screen, is the screen still recording? Yes. This is the mess on my... This is the mess on my desk. NASCAM has a variety of different camera and also film imitations. As you can see here, this is a 400TX Velvia Neopan, like there's a lot. I also haven't used this in a couple months, but I think I like the D Classic and Classic U the most, so we're gonna go with Classic U. And then you can just import, you just import it, and that is a specific filter that does something to it. As you can see, to me this looks like very overdone. Let's try another film emulsion. Let's do the D Classic. And again, same picture. This one is very blurred, and you see what I'm like, and I mean, like it gives you a good look, but for me it feels too made up. I was really happy by the time I found this app, and it made me happy. You have so many, like also this is trying to imitate the Kodak Fun Saver by the looks of the camera. Same picture, import. So I like the idea behind this, a half frame imitation, which, where's my original half frame? I can't find it. The Konica recorder is one of my favorites. So when you have the half, you import 2 pictures. So let's do these next to each other. And something like this pops up. This is what I do with my scanner usually. So you have a lot of options, but for me, I like how it looks, but I feel like, you know, I personally like to adjust. So at some point, NASCAM actually recommended its new app, which is called Lit. Like I got a notification in the app, hey, this is our new app, you wanna try it out? And I was like, yeah, I'm down to try out a new photography kind of app, and it's called Lit, and it looks like Tinder. I downloaded it, and that's what I've been using for the past year or so, because it has the perks of NASCAM, which is great filters and just a vibe, but it's customizable. So let's look at Lit, which is this one down here. Same procedure, we're gonna import. First off, I want to show you save your presets that you developed yourself. But I'm gonna go through the process of showing you how I usually edit with NASCAM right now. So you have your filters, and all of these are pretty decent. I usually go to the one that is called PT2, and you have the same thing as in VSCO. It's very overexposed, a lot of green and yellow undertones, and I'm usually dragging that down to about something between, let's say 50 and 80 probably. So let's go with like a 70. and again makes the picture more overexposed, takes out color, like really accentuates the highlights. So same thing as with VSCO, I go into the adjustment layer, which you've seen before. I go into lightness, which is basically the exposure, and I drag that down. And I usually drag that down at least to 30, I think, so I can get back more depth. So let's put it to 30. And you have a lot of other things in here. We have a little bit of contrast, always good. Sometimes can be too much. Let's do a little bit of contrast. Tone is really like unimportant. Sometimes I go into the shadows and light them up a bit when they're really dark. And vibrance, you can take out a little bit of that, but just a little bit. Saturation, usually I go up, same as in VSCO, to a 3. And then temperature. In this picture, there's already a lot of yellow and red, so I don't really need to add any. I just want to show you that that's possible. And I like doing that a lot of times. Just warming up a picture. It's just my vibe, you know? I don't use the fade. And then we have curves. And curves is how I actually learned to color grade pictures. Is the gradation curve is something you use in Photoshop to tackle the RGB color room, I think it's called. So, for example, I like going into the blues, and I like lowering the blues, like taking them out of the pictures in the shadows. So we're dragging down the shadow part a little bit, and then we're putting up the highlights. I also like to put a little bit of green, so I'm pulling on the red in the shadows just a little bit, and then going up in the highlights. So this is looking pretty good, but what I love most about Lit as an app is the effects panel, because I feel like with digital images, what gives away that it's digital most of the time is how sharp these images are. For me, film pictures usually are sharp, of course. If they're in focus, they're sharp, but they have this kind of softness to them, and that's what I feel like with all these megapixels and I don't know, you know, digital stuff. It's just very sharp, and like all the lines are so harsh. Into the blur effect, and I haven't found any other app on the phone that does this and blur your image. It doesn't have to be a lot, like we don't want it to look like this, but we like something between a, let's say 5 and 20. 20 I only go for, not even 20, usually I go until like 15. 15 is, for example, pictures of, not of people, like of landscapes, sunsets, you know, vibey, moody pictures. I like to go up to 15 probably. But for everyday pictures, selfies, whatever, I go probably to 5, just to, you know, it's soft. It's really soft, and I like that. And then there's also the grain in Lit, and I feel like this app has one of the best, or some of the best grains, because they offer different ones. So you have 2 types of colored grain, like, you know, the pixels are in color, this one and this one. And then you have a monochromatic one, which is kind of black and white. And I like this one the best, even for color pictures. It gives me the most natural feel. And I like to put that between 100 if you want to go really strong, or probably like 70, something between 70 and 100, even lower. It really depends on your liking. And then I think these 2 are more for video, which you can also use in this app. You can edit your videos, which is top notch. Like I edit all my TikToks that I film with this phone in this app. So let's go to a 70 in the GM1. Looking good. And then you also have the option to add a frame. I really like this one because it makes the edges go soft. It's like scanning. This, for example, which imitates again the frame, that is usually Let me show you. We have a negative strip here. I don't know if you can see, but these holes is what imitates the holes on this filter. Pretty good, this app. But I don't want to frame. So if you're done with your editing style, how I do it, however you would like to do it, you have this panel where it tracks all your layers of editing. And then you can actually save it. So let's call this hallway and save it. So you have this saved in your recipes. It's right up there called hallway. And as you can see, I have a couple of them. They're almost all based on the same style with the PT2 filter. My older ones sadly don't have a preview anymore, but yeah, I kind of, also great names, BST, NM, BH, SV, that's for black and white, schwarz-weiß, B2, backlight, Chanel, basic yellow, whatever it is. Let's import another photo and use the filter or preset we just created, because I want to show you that it's not a copy and paste in most cases. If this will probably work for all hallway pictures that have the same exposure as the one we have edited just now. Let's do these three, import them, and then we use this filter. And this doesn't look right to me. This has to be lighter, there has to be less saturation, less yellow, more red, less of the filter, and probably a bit more of highlights here. And then it also applies to the other ones, like these, and then you can save them. But see, even if you have one preset, it doesn't always work for every single picture. Let's go back and do it with, for example, one that has very different light circumstances, which is this one. We're going to apply our hallway filter, and this is really dark, so we're going back into exposure and adjust that. Also, because the picture in general is very yellow, we're going to take out some of the yellow, maybe even go into a bit of blue to accentuate the beautiful sky. But as you can see, it is, and we like the red, it is adjustable, and that's great. I hope that I could answer a lot of questions I got over the past years. Leave a comment if you've asked me this question in the past, and I'm finally here to answer it. And I love sitting and experimenting, as you can see, and I hope that this will be helpful for some of you guys to use, gives you some happiness and inspiration on the way. I want to wish you guys a good day. Want to send out hope. I hope I could lift up your mood for a couple minutes, and I will hopefully see you in my next video soon. Bye bye.